Just like that. Just like that. So the Carolina Hurricanes have officially swept the New York Rangers in their qualification round. The Carolina Hurricanes will move on to the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Meanwhile, the New York Rangers are heading home only a couple of days after the play-in rounds began. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. And let's take a look at how the Carolina Hurricanes swept the New York Rangers in a best-of-5 series. So going into this play-in round, I think a lot of people had an interesting thought on this series. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm very disappointed that this series is over. One of the more intense, bad blood, bad intentions between the two teams going into the series. Brady Shea was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes at the trade deadline. The Carolina Hurricanes' first-round pick is with the New York Rangers. And not to mention a couple of guys here and there have been moving back and forth between the Rangers and the Hurricanes over the past couple of seasons. And not to mention that the Hurricanes were actually very, very upset with the proposal of the qualification round. They felt that they should only have to win 2 games instead of 3, which the Rangers would have to win 3 in the series to win. And the Hurricanes took a lot of backlash for that. And I kind of went along with that the Hurricanes, what are you doing? You're that insecure that you can't beat them in 5 games? So then the series starts, and right off the bat, big hits, lots of penalties. I believe there were 15 penalties in that first game between the Hurricanes and the Rangers, which the Carolina Hurricanes won that game 3-2, not to mention, like I said, 15 power plays, 7 for each side, and there might have been another one thrown in there, but there was a crazy hockey game there in game 1, and really enjoyable. A great way to start off the hockey being back scenario. And then we get into game 2, where the Rangers, I mean, they didn't look terrible, but they didn't look great. And I think that was really the big issue with, the Rangers in this series. Because every game, the first game, the Hurricanes got 37 shots. The second game, 34 shots. The third game, it's ever going to load, I'm pretty sure they got over 30 shots in game 3. So, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Ranger fans out there, oh, it's a Lundqvist fault, this and that. That's a bunch of BS. Let's be honest. It was not the goaltending completely. I don't think Lundqvist had his best series. It wasn't like he was back in 2010 or 2011. He is still a fairly solid goaltender, and we'll be talking about that later in this video. But, the New York Rangers had some issues, specifically with the defense, I noticed. And I don't know if that's David Quinn. I don't know what that whole scenario is. There were a couple of plays where the Rangers really struggled to get the puck out of their own end. I think that was a real problem in this series for the Rangers, and it costed them at the end of the day. And the Hurricanes, that top line was lethal, not to mention. I mean, Sebastian Aho put up 11 points in those 3 games. That's like video game numbers. Teuvo Teravainen got 2 points in those 3 games. And I believe Andrei Svechnikov had 8 points in those 3 games. So, to sit here and say that top line didn't completely dismantle the Rangers, you're kidding yourself there. That was a really great performance by that top line. I was questioning Rod Brundamore going into Game 3. The first 2 games we see Peter Mrazek start, and he looked really solid for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, not to mention he wasn't tested all that much because in all 3 games the Rangers didn't record over 30 shots throughout the entire series, and I think that really hurt the Rangers as the series went along. They just weren't getting enough pucks in front of the net. They did score on their opportunities here and there, but it just wasn't enough. And at the end of the day, the Rangers had plenty of power plays. They had plenty of opportunities, and the Carolina Hurricanes did too. It just didn't seem like the Rangers could get it done. And like I said, I think breaking out of the zone was a huge problem for the New York Rangers, and I think that really cost them at the end of the day. And even when the Hurricanes had a lead, they were very aggressive, always forechecking, and they really made life they made life very difficult for the New York Rangers to get out of their own end. They were throwing pucks up the middle, whiffing it, wide open pass for Teuvo Teravainen or Aho. I mean, you can't do that and expect to win hockey games. I think that was a huge issue for the Rangers, and they started to correct the power play later in the series. But we're sitting here anyway as the Rangers got swept in 3 games. So, good news for the Rangers. You have your first round pick. You have a 12.5% chance at Alexis Lafreniere. That scares the living shit out of me, but I'm not going to lie. That's a great thing for the New York Rangers. This is great for them. They have an opportunity to pick up a really solid player. Not like they already have enough forwards on that group, but if they do win this lottery, at least the Rangers have a couple of months to look forward to possibly getting that draft pick. And for the Carolina Hurricanes, doesn't matter. They didn't have their first round pick anyway. It would have gone to the New York Rangers anyway. And the chances of them winning that would have been slim. They still would have kept that first overall pick in Lafreniere, but we know where the Hurricanes are. They loaded up at the deadline. They want to win this year. So I think they're quite happy for getting past the qualification round. With all that insecurity going into it, I think it would have been a little bit disappointing if they had faltered. I mean, going into this series, a lot of people had their sets high. You know, there were high hopes for the New York Rangers. They have Georgiev, Shesterkin, and Lundqvist. Not to mention all those young guys coming up. Zibanejad, Panarin, the core looking really solid. But unfortunately, that defense just really wasn't enough for the Rangers. And at the end of the day, they're packing their bags. First team to pack their bags in the qualification round around the NHL, which definitely stings for Rangers fans, but it is what it is, right? So comment down below. New York Rangers fans, what's going to happen this offseason? You've got an aging goaltender in Henrik Lundqvist, who still has one more year left on his contract. You've got Georgiev and Shesterkin. Do you find a way to move out Lundqvist? I think that's the easy answer, I would think. You've got a lot of money locked up into that blue line. You've got a lot of money locked up in guys like Panarin. So how do you work this out? And especially with this whole pandemic situation, I don't think, this Panarin thing may hurt them a little bit sooner rather than later. And yes, Panarin is a very solid player. He's in the conversation for the Hart Trophy this season. But it's still, it's going to be interesting what happens here with the Rangers this offseason. They have some guys they have to re-sign. Guys like Ryan Strome, guys like Tony DeAngelo. It's going to be an interesting summer for the Rangers. And I think everybody's going to be looking in between the pipes. What is the Rangers' plan moving forward? So let me know in the comment section down below. What do the Rangers have to do next season to get back into the playoffs and become a contender? Let me know down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.